Imagine for a moment a life without the ability to taste. While it's one of our most important sensory abilities, it's one that we often take for granted. Psychologists are beginning to do more research on what affects our perception of certain senses. Factors like visual and auditory senses have the power in determining how sweet, sour, or bitter you think a flavor is. In this video, we'll take a look at the role of the brain in taste. We'll also look at the basic tastes and how we come to experience them. Your mood at the time that you're eating has a large impact on how you perceive taste. According to some researchers, when people are in a positive mood, they're more sensitive to the taste of sweetness. If they're experiencing negative emotions, that tends to heighten the sensitivity to sour tastes. Scientists are predicting that this is due to the increase in the chemical serotonin released in the brain when people are experiencing positive emotions. But more research is needed to support this idea. The flavor that is being perceived, which we'll look at more in depth here in another video as we look at smell, is related to the color that you see. In many studies, the color of a drink has strongly influenced the participants' guess as to what flavor the drink was. In one study, even though there was no association to the actual flavor of the drink, the color of the drink was what highly influenced participant guesses. For example, in this particular study, a green flavored drink was associated with a citrus lime flavor, whereas a red drink was associated with more of a sweet strawberry flavor. Sound is also beginning to be implemented in restaurants as a way to enhance the taste of dishes being served. In one example, at a restaurant that is in England, in particular in a city called Berkshire, there's a restaurant called the Fat Duck Restaurant. And the owner of this restaurant had a special menu called the Sounds of the Sea, where they served seafood that was accompanied by an iPod containing ocean sounds, which, according to many customers, added to the taste experience of the dish. Also, researchers have discovered a relationship between high pitched sounds and the sweetness, as well as low pitched sounds and bitterness when eating bitter sweet flavors like dark chocolate or toffee. This phenomenon is called modulating taste, and it's not yet fully understood, but research is beginning to be done to determine the reasoning behind this correlation. In another research study, researchers found that round white plates led to a 20% increase in people rating the food as sweeter and a 30% increase in the intensity of flavors in the meal. Now, certain theories suggest that the reason behind this phenomenon is that the colors of the food served on a white plate are more vibrant, leading to the perception of a more intense flavor. In the end, our brain is doing a lot more than just enjoying a piece of cake. Everything from our emotions to the color of food and the sounds around us play an important part in how much we enjoy the food that we are tasting. Researchers have discovered that we have five basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Umami can be described as a savory taste. You would experience this taste when you're consuming things like cheese or meats or olives and other foods with a savory or brothy taste. Tastes are messages that tell us something about what we put into our mouth so that we can decide whether it should be eaten. The function of sweet is to ensure adequate consumption of carbohydrates for energy for the body. The function of sour is to detect toxins and to detect ripeness. The function of salty is to ensure adequate intake of salt to regulate the amount of water in the body. And the function of bitter is to prevent the intake of poisonous substances into the body. And finally, the function of umami is to ensure the adequate intake of proteins for proper growth and maintenance of the body. Taste begins with consuming food or drink and the molecules of what we've consumed mixing with our saliva. Throughout our mouth are taste buds, and each taste bud cell contains tiny bundles of cells that are specialized to detect taste. The role of taste receptor proteins is to detect substances in your mouth, like food particles. There are five specialized kinds of taste receptor proteins, and each kind detects particles with one of those five basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami or savory. Again, that meaty or cheese, that meat or cheese, or it could also include olives and or even oysters. That type of taste. Taste receptors activate when they're chewed with food, when the chewed food mixes with saliva. And when receptor proteins detect food particles, they then react. And this then results in the cells that are in our tongues or on our taste buds notifying, being notified that a taste substance has been detected. This process can be imagined as if the receptors are locks and the food particles are keys. Just as a lock opens only with its matching key, a taste receptor reacts only to its matching type of food particle. Now, when a taste bud cell is notified that a substance like a food has been detected, it goes into action and then a neural impulse is created. So, when the nerve of your tongue receives signals from taste bud cells, they pass them on to more nerves and then more, sending the message racing out to the back of your mouth, up through a tiny hole in your skull, and into your brain. There, you have a part of your brain that is called the gustatory cortex. This is the taste center of the brain, and it finishes the job of telling you which taste you perceive: sweet, salty, bitter, sour, or umami or savory. So it is a rather complex process, and it's one that is happening very quickly. In this video, you've learned about the basics of taste. You learned about the basic types of taste that we experience, the role of taste receptors, neural impulses, and the brain in this experience. You've also learned about some of the research on the brain and our perceptual processes that are involved in taste. In our next video, you'll learn about smell. Smell is intimately tied to our experience of taste as it allows us to detect flavor. If you like this video and would like more videos like these, I would encourage you to go to the YouTube channel Psychology Lab.